Well, thank you very much, and welcome once again to Where Are They Now, another edition of, and looking forward to this, as I always am on a Wednesday, catching up with a good friend. I can't believe I've known him all these years, going back to the early 90s when he was a player here at Oklahoma State, captain for the Cowboys back in the day in the secondary, all Big Eight performer, all those things. But we know him now as the head coach of Ponca City, Scott Harmon, and I wanted to catch up with Scotty for one big reason. This guy actually had a lot to do with the development, football-wise, socially, any kind of wise you want to put in there with Zaven Collins. How proud were you last week when you heard that first-round selection?
We were having some festivities out on the Harmon farm with some close friends, and we were jumping around like little kids. It was a great time. We were extremely happy for both Zaven and his family.
You know, every kid, I mean, we've all been this way, football being what we're talking about. But, you know, kids, if they have a glove, they got cleats, they got a bat, you know, you're in the backyard and you're dreaming about and talking about, when I get to the big leagues, I'm going to play for this team and that team. Did Zaven ever get into that when he was a youngster playing football? Did he ever mention that, you know, one of these days I'm going to play in the NFL?
You know, Zaven was part of a really good group at Hominy that we won a state championship with, and I'll be totally honest with you. Zaven was probably not even the best football player in his class until his junior year. He played with another little old kid that was an all-state running back that, you know, was pretty much an animal his whole life growing up. So Zaven was a big part of that group, but we moved him to quarterback after his freshman year, and it kind of lit a fire in his tail a little bit about he wanted to play Division I quarterback, and I let him go with that dream because he worked so hard. But you know, after his junior year, I told him, I said, Zaven, I said, man, you know, I know you want to play quarterback, but your path is on the defensive side of the ball. You need to be on the defensive side, and that's where you'll get a chance at the next level. I'm just not for sure where at yet. So, yeah, you know, he had an idea. It wasn't like it was just something automatic because he was big, dominant, because, you know, he's just 21 right now. He graduated when he was 17, so he was playing high school football when he was, you know, 14 years old. He was just a baby.
You know, how much, and I mentioned this to you before we went on the air, you know, I think teachers probably feel the same way, and certainly you're a teacher as well, but, you know, when a student goes on and does well in whatever field or endeavor that they try, you got a little bit of a little feel of pride, a little bit that I had just a little bit to do with that. Do you feel that way athletically with Zaven?
You know, I do a little bit. Everybody in Hominy kind of deserves a little credit with that crew. We were all invested with that group. They had like 18 kids in that one group, and were pretty dominant. I remember watching them in the third grade, my first year at Hominy, thinking, man, if I can kind of keep that group together, I got a chance to win one, and then they ended up doing that. So, you know, it was a good group. Zaven was a big part of that, and you know, it's humbling to me to see a kid be so successful coming from a little old hometown. But you know, there's a lot of successful football players come out of that little old community, and he's kind of set himself apart from the rest of them a little bit. So it's a definite feather in our cap if you had something to do with that.
The town got after it, didn't they? The night of the draft, they were out there at the football field and celebrating along with him, watching it on the video board. That had to be pretty neat.
It is neat. You know, the Hominy lives and breathes football. You know, high school football is a gigantic thing in that little community. It's what it's known for, and you know, they're kind of, you know, chosen son just got, you know, not only was he drafted 16, but he was, you know, the best player in the nation. He's beaten out people like that Sertan kid, you know, for defensive player of the nation. And man, when you come out of Hominy and you have those kind of accolades, and nobody really wanted you, nobody really said, hey, Zaven, you know, we want you to come early like they do most people his size and of his stature, and, you know, with his genes and background and family. It was just a shocker that nobody really come on and, you know, said, hey, man, we want you, except for Bill Young at TU, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
I think you read probably what a great deal when Bidwell, the young Bidwell, they flew over Hominy. Long story short,
Oh, yeah,
I think you.
yeah. Uh-huh.
How neat was that for him to see his beginnings?
When I was the principal at Hominy, we had a picture of that same little view. Somebody was in a helicopter, so that's good. David's a really humble kid. He's got his ducks in a row. He's always been a real kind of a player's leader. Those kids kind of gravitated towards him. Good, bad, or indifferent all the time, and when they decided to do that, and they had enough smarts to kind of take that picture and post that out there, somebody's doing something right with the Arizona Cardinals, because that's pretty sharp.
Yeah, you don't see that kind of an act very often, for sure.
No,
and that shows you how much respect they have for him. Is it? I don't know him near as well as you do, but he always seems so mature beyond his years. When you hear him talk, you get that same impression.
Oh, I've known, like I say, I've known David since he was in the third grade. He was raised right. I was his principal in high school. He was our valedictorian. So, we went through a lot of ups and downs together. David and I were not real popular when we got beat. He didn't have a great game his junior year in the semis, and I didn't have a great game coaching-wise. So we weren't real popular in Hominy America for a little while. So, yeah, it is what it is. I just love the kid's demeanor. I love his work ethic. I love his leadership ability. He's, it's pretty much the total package. When people asked me, did I think he was going to fall in the draft, I told them no. When these teams start doing their legitimate research on this kid and how he grew up and what he did as a high school kid and in college at TU, he's going to move up. He's not going to move back.
And I think we covered this the last time we visited, which was, I think, during the season, and we were talking about what kind of a great player he was at Tulsa. I got to think that he's the kind of player that a team wants to reflect what they are in the community. And I'm not putting pressure on him, but he looks to me to be the kind of player who would be great in the community.
Oh, yeah, and you've got, J.J. Watt just went over there, and I don't know if there's a better community guy than J.J. Watt, and what he did for, the city of Houston while he was there. But, Zaven's got, Zaven's wise beyond his years, to be honest with you. He was only, I think he's 6 hours away from a degree at TU, and he was, he didn't even go his last year. So this kid, this kid's future is bright. He'll be looking for his second contract about the time he's 24 years old. You know what I mean? And it'll be that big one if he can just stay healthy and produce over there a little bit. So this guy's kind of set him and himself and his family up for some success that, is life-changing.
What were his statistics, if you will, when he was quarterback, and height, weight? I mean, we see him now as just a big strapping guy who can run. He's a linebacker. He's physical. He can get up on the line of scrimmage. He can cover. We see that in Tulsa. What was he? Take us back to when you first saw him in pads.
Well, after our freshman year, when I got him when he was just a baby as a freshman, we decided after his freshman year we were going to move him from running back and a cornerback to quarterback free safety, because we kind of saw what was coming. He was starting to spurt up. He was just a baby. He was, just 14 years old. He was a freshman playing high school football, and you know what I mean. We kind of threw him into heat as a freshman, and after that season, we said, hey, we're going to move you to here, and he just owned it. He started going to extra quarterback stuff. He lifted hard. He just went the extra mile because he knew he was going to be in that leadership role. And we kept him in the middle of the field as the free safety at Hominy. I knew that he was going to move up eventually, but, when we had him, he was probably a little over 6'3" and 220 pounds. You know what I mean? He was athletic, smart, and things of that nature, but, he really didn't lift weights at that time. He was a kind of a football, basketball, baseball, track guy, so he was always doing something. And, in small school, football, you don't have strength and conditioning stuff. So I knew when he got to TU that, and just did football, that he was going to take big steps in a hurry. And I kind of feel the same way when he goes to the Cardinals, and he doesn't have to go to take 12 hours at TU, while he's playing football, and he can just concentrate on getting in the best shape of his life and playing linebacker for him. Boy, the sky's the limit for this kid.
It's always easy to say, I thought this guy was going to be such and such, and I saw the potential. But was there a time when, as his coach, you wondered, is this going to work out, or is he eventually going to steer off into another direction and play another sport?
Me and my baseball coach almost had to break out the boxing gloves over him because, Coach Love was wanting him to pitch and, thought he was going to be a pitcher. And Coach Love's pretty smart about stuff like that. He probably, to be honest with you, with that kind of stature and being able to throw the ball as hard as he could, I understood what Coach Love was doing, but I told Coach Love, I said, I know this kid's family on both sides, the mama side and the daddy side, and this kid is a football player through and through. Just trust me on this one. So I knew it. I just didn't know it was coming. I mean, when you're 15 and you're a sophomore and you're leading, a pretty good program, and you're most kids at 15 aren't mature enough to do that really well. You know what I mean? But Zaven handled it like a champ. He handled adversity like a champ. He stepped up and owned it when he had to. And when he was a senior, we just kind of got out of the way, and all we had to do was really get him on the bus. You know what I mean?
That's what most good coaches do. They just do make sure the players on the bus and get out of the way and let them go do what they do. I can tell you from experience there. Was there any? Was it disappointment? I guess that's the word I'm going to grab. When he wasn't courted that much coming out of high school for college.
It was extremely disappointing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of fancy myself as a decent evaluator of talent. I played at college football at a pretty high level around some really good kids. I mean, this kid, his biological father was an All-Big 8 player, played for the Steelers for a little while. His mother's side is big and tall and athletic. So and this kid, not only on top of that, but he was a valedictorian. He's got the size. He's got all the intangibles, and because he was a Class A football player, people overlooked him, and that makes me so upset because I'll be honest with you. You look at the people that have come out of Hominy High School and went to Division I football. I mean, these guys played. We had. The most recently was Charlie Higgins at TU. He was a freshman, all white guy. Myself at OSU, played as a freshman, started 4 years. His biological father, Mike Hudson, was a All-Big 8 guy alongside Mark Moore at OSU. So, when we weren't getting courted by some of these big schools, and I told these guys, I wrote them a letter and I said, hey, I understand this guy's not going to be a quarterback at the next level, but guys are making a mistake by not taking this guy or getting on this guy, and it turns out I was right for a change.
Well, as little as you're right, Harmon, I would take credit for that. Probably. I'm going
to on this one. I sure will.
You might have to circle this day on the calendar.
I'll mark it down for sure. The guys from the Ponca City guys will for sure.
Yeah. One more question on Collins, and we'll get you to Ponca City thing here and see how things are going there as well. But when did he make the biggest jump physically? I mean, some kids do it early, some go later. I mean, obviously when he got to TU, he had the ability to get to the weight room and all that stuff. But when physically did he make that transition?
It was at TU, really, when he got a chance to go and be, underneath a real training table, underneath a real strength and conditioning coach full time. He was 17 at that time, and wasn't doing anything other than kind of going to school, and you can focus your efforts on your body, and your football knowledge. And I knew that once this kid kind of was able to do that and kind of prioritize some things in terms of time and effort into one sport, we knew he was going to take the jump. So, probably the first year when he got up there and he gained about 25 pounds and his neck was, he changed. He went from being a boy to a man pretty quickly up there.
Last thing again on him. Tell me what it was like. You said you met with him. You met the week before the draft. What was his temperature like there? Was he pretty calm, figuring, I'm going to get my chance somewhere along the line?
I think he had an idea that somebody was going to jump up in there. He made the comment on one of those interviews that he was going to be gone by pick 20, and he said, no, I won't be there. And I think he was pretty confident in the fact that one of those teams, right there, 15 through 18, was going to take him. I know Belichick, they did their research on him because they contacted, several people about him that I know of, including myself. And, so we kind of had an idea that he would be going in that early round, even though, we kept seeing things, hey, he was, as far back as, the 32nd pick and even, early in the second round, I was like, man, I hope they're wrong. And I think he kind of had a quiet confidence that somebody was going to take him.
Well, that's a good point you bring up as well. And those pros, the staffers and the head coaches, they make a lot of phone calls. And, indeed, you probably got some, right, as you mentioned with Belichick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I bet we had 8 to 10 teams, that were in that area. Even had the Rams contact me, and they just come straight out and told me, we know we're not going to get him now, but we're already thinking about him for his second contract, and, we're going to do our work right now. So, David impresses a lot of people. He's wise beyond his years. He's one of those cats that, you don't have to worry about him out in the community and things of that nature. So it's just a win-win when you get a kid like that into your organization.
Well, tell me what's going on in the Ponca City football world now. What do you got going on when school gets out, and summertime workouts and 7-on-7s and things like that?
Yeah, we're going through a little transition. Coach Parker got the Blackwell head coaching job. So
good for him. Good.
Yes, it was good. He needed a chance. He was looking for a head coaching job, and one came open late. So, we're happy for Brent. Anytime you lose a coach late, it hurts. But my coaching tree, the older I'm getting, my old tree's growing quite a bit now. So we were happy for Brent. And so we're doing some replacing right now. We've got a guy coming in tomorrow, and we're going to try to finalize our O-line hire and get our staff going, and then we'll kind of do some last-minute vertical alignment before we jump into some spring ball. And we have a strength and conditioning coach that handles all our stuff over the summer, so it's a blessing for me. All I really have to do is just kind of show up, and if I have a kid that we don't know where he's at, I go beat on his door.
You know what? You make it sound a lot easier than it is. So I know it's not that easy. You got a little bit more responsibility than that. But give me a broad view of the Ponca City situation. We talked to you from day one when you got the job, and there was a lot of grassroots work that you had to do from the get-go. Have you made that progress, the progress you thought you would?
You know what? To be honest with you, if it weren't for COVID last year, I think we would have went 5-6. It would have been our second five-win season in a row, and those are definite strides from where Ponca City came. My first year there, we were 0-10, but we kind of fixed a lot of things, and we were in some games. But the next year we won 5. If it weren't for COVID, I really think last year we would have been 5-6. And won another 5 games. So you're talking about 10 games in 2 years at Ponca City. So I feel good about that. I'm a competitor. I don't like to lose. I want to get in the playoffs. That's our ultimate goal. We're in a definite, dogfight every week in this district. We had, both the finalists and Booker T in our district. So, it is what it is. And we knew that going into this, but we've got we've actually got the best 3 classes we've had since I've been here in consecutive order. So we're looking forward to a full summer and hopefully getting back to a normal, real football season. And we've got a good junior class that's kind of carried us through this transition, and we hope that they'll kind of lead us into the playoffs this year.
If you can find another young Zabin Collins just to kind of show up at your door and say, Coach, I like to play football, you might be in good shape, huh?
Well, those suckers, I've been coaching 23 years, and he's the first and the last one, I think. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to congratulate you again. You're not going to take any credit, I know. But, hey, it takes a village, as they say, right, to to bring somebody up and bring them up the right way. And I know you got to feel a sense of pride for what you've seen Zaven accomplish and what he's going to accomplish now in the pros. So anyway, long story short, congratulations. Appreciate you being with us, though, as usual.
Thank you, Tom. Anytime you guys need somebody to visit with, I'm always around.
All right, buddy. Best of luck. We'll touch base before the prep season starts, but best of luck through the summer, and I do appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Tom.
All right, bud. That's Scott Harmon giving us a little insight into Zaven Collins. And